So today we are wrapping up our series, Be the Light. Next Sunday, we have our annual Burning Bowl ritual, which is a wonderful way to complete the year consciously, letting go of what we want to leave in the past and stepping newly into the new year. So today we take a look at this theme, Be the Light. And I'm going to begin with a story, a bit of a fable, you may say. As the winter solstice approached, the days grew shorter. The world seemed to fall in a deeper slumber. In the small village of Aara, the people had always celebrated this time of year, gathering to mark the return of the sun. But this year, something felt different. The sky was a muted gray, the wind cold, whispering in ways that made their hearts heavy. The villagers spoke of darkness closing in, and not just in the sky, but in their own hearts. Among them was Aara, a young woman known for her quiet kindness and her warmth that seemed to radiate even on the coldest days. But even she noticed how the village had become quieter, and the people began to keep to themselves more, how their smiles had begun to fade. She knew something needed to change, but she wasn't sure how. One evening, as the sun dipped lower, Aara wandered into the forest that bordered her village. The trees bare and twisted. They seemed to be listening to her every thought. She sat on the edge of the clearing, gazing out to the sky, the stars hidden behind thick clouds, the moon barely visible. And yet, deep within her stirred a quiet voice. This voice says, "Bring light to the world. You must first kindle it within yourselves. To bring light to the world, you must first kindle it within yourself." The word soft and simple echoed in her mind. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath, and for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to feel what had been brewing inside her. Sitting and being present with the sadness, with the grief, with the compassion and the joy and the hope, holding it all, the seeming opposites, the paradox of life itself, light, dark. She sat and she held the space for all. And she thought of the people she loved in the village she called home, and how even in the darkest times, there was always a flicker of light waiting to be shared. With a renewed sense of purpose, Aara returned to her village, gathering those that she could to help her. And together, they began to do small acts of kindness, creating and sharing a meal, a comforting word, a gesture, perhaps a hug. It wasn't much at first, but then something began to stir within the villagers. And they started to remember that light doesn't just come from the sun, it comes from the hearts of all those around them. So on the night of the solstice, the longest night, stretched its shadows over the land, and the villagers gathered in the town square. Aara stood at the center, holding a lantern in her hand. And as the clock struck midnight, she raised the lantern high, and its glow reflecting off the snow-covered ground. One by one, each person in the square lit their own lantern, passing the light hand to hand, just as we did on Thursday night. And as they did, and they looked at that light and saw that reflection of one another, they realized that the more light they gave, the brighter the world became. And soon the stars appeared as the clouds parted, and the moon shone brighter than before. And it wasn't the sun returning that brought the light. It was the light from within each of their own hearts, that as they came together, they kindled that light and watched it grow exponentially. In that moment, the village understood the true message of solstice. The darkness can only be overcome by the light that we choose to share. And with that light, the world would find its way back to hope. So that's where we begin today, remembering that within each of us is that light, is that spark of the divine, waiting to be expressed and shared. And as we share our light with another, it amplifies, right? So what I know is that each of us has a unique gift, a unique spark within to share. And the seasons remind us that even in the darkest of times, it doesn't mean that we have nothing to give. Instead, it reminds us to slow down, to turn within, to remember, to reflect, to feel, and to cultivate that inner awareness of the light. Nature is such a good example, right? We can't go 24/7 on high speed like perhaps some of us do during the summer when we're energized by the light and the long days and all the activity, right? If we were to keep up that pace throughout the year and throughout our life, our bodies would eventually say, right? We need rest. We need the times to get still, to turn within, to contemplate the darkness and the light, to contemplate the light in the darkness in the light, and to remember who we are, and to remember that we always have something to give, even when we feel like we don't. And to notice the tendency of the mind to make the light good and the dark bad. The healing, the hope, the transformation, the gift is in looking at these seeming opposites and integrating them, to be able to hold space for it all. For what I have experienced, and I imagine many of you have, as I've heard your stories, is that in those times that may feel like those dark nights of the soul, the potential for healing, for growth, for learning is great. And as we have moved past various times in our lives of struggle, of darkness, we do not allow the darkness to consume our hearts. And sometimes it takes a smile or a spark or a hug from a little one, a lick from a puppy, who knows, to remind us, oh yeah, and our heart leaps and lights up. Not that the thing out there created or caused our light, it just woke something up within us when perhaps we have forgotten, yes. So we get to be that for each other. We get to be that spark. We get to be that remembrance, and we get to remember that no matter what is occurring in our lives or in the world, that light shall overcome. That love is the great healer, and love is always the answer. To remember our light and to ask, how can I be of service, right? This story points to She didn't go off and remember her light and then come back home and sit with it and say, oh, yes, this feels good. I'm just going to radiate in my light forever. She couldn't actually experience the growth of her own inner light and being without relationship. And we as humans are built this way. Life is relationship. How we choose to relate to the things and the people and the places and the beings in our life gives us that opportunity to reflect the light that we are and to see it in others and let that light grow and multiply and shine and lift up others. So that is the message, that is the goal of this time of year. And as we just experienced the solstice yesterday, we in nature are going to begin to see more light, have longer days. And that is a reminder that through the darkest of times, the light will emerge. As a community, we get to show up and remind each other that we are the light. And if someone is in a place of experiencing difficulty, perhaps there's something we can give or offer. If we ourselves are in the place of experiencing pain or sorrow, we can be open to receive the gifts of our community and let that light fill our hearts and grow and expand. This was the message that runs through all major faith traditions, that golden thread of truth. Treat others the way you desire to be treated, right? So the love, the care, the compassion, this time of year reminds us to not get stuck in or wallow in our own despair, but instead to hold space for it and to allow the light of hope to return in our hearts. And perhaps by giving of something, even when we feel like we barely have anything to give, by taking that step of being of service in some way, we can open our hearts. And not only that, we must be willing to receive the gift and the love and the offers of others, to know that we are worthy and that the light within us is here to shine, to grow, to multiply, to be glorious, to radiate, right? So this week I encourage you, whatever your holiday plans may bring, to find moments of stillness, of reflection. A wonderful practice is just to sit with a candle, to reflect on that light, and to remember that that light lives within your own heart and within all those around you. And then to ask, how can I be of service? What is mine to do today? What is mine to know today? What is mine to express today, to share today? What is mine to receive today? Be conscious, be awake, be aware, be present, and allow life to show up and give its gifts to you through you. Yes? All right. Let's take that into prayer. Taking that deep breath. So grateful. So grateful to recognize the one life that is love, the one life that is peace, that is wholeness, that is harmony, that is joy. This one energy, this presence, moving in as and through all life as the light that we are. I know and recognize this life. Some call it God, universe, spirit, the one. I recognize this life as the very essence of all life, and know that it is the truth of who I am. This wholeness, love, and peace and harmony is the very essence and nature of my being. So I choose this day to recognize the one life, the love, the peace, the joy, the wholeness in all of life. To show up fully present, awake and aware, to see the light of truth and love despite any circumstance in the world. I am always at choice. So I can choose to allow the light to lead the way. I can choose to open my heart and mind and to experience a shift in perspective and to see any situation from the eyes of the beloved. To allow love to be revealed, peace to be known, healing to occur now in my heart, mind, body, spirit. Knowing that I am the light of the world. And I am here to share and express that light in a way that only I can. Given the situations and circumstances of my own life's path journey, there is something unique that I am here to offer. So I choose this day first to recognize that, to stand in my power, in my wholeness, and to know that I have so much to give. And then to choose to allow that to flow through me as me, to be that vessel of spirit, to shine the light of love and wholeness and peace and harmony upon all those I encounter, to choose to show up in relationship with life, with other beings, as light embodied. That space that can hold all seeming opposites and allow love to lead the way. So I'm so grateful this day to choose love and only love. I'm so grateful this day to walk this path of wholeness together with my beloved community, knowing that I am here to give, I am here to serve, I am here to express, and I am here to be the light, as well as to receive and to see and to acknowledge the light around me. This is what I give thanks for this day. The acknowledgement of the love and the light within all beings. With great gratitude for the fulfillment of this word, I release it now into the action of the law that always says, yes, my beloved, yes, it is done. And it is so. And I affirm it to be so by saying, and so it is, and so it is.